Hello, how are you doing today? Uh, I'm pretty excited for this. I haven't been on in a while, so it's been kind of crazy lately. I've been taking an online class in holiness, so that's part of why we are talking about holiness tonight. And June was packed. I ran lights for a youth camp for a week. I ran lights for a vacation Bible school for a week. I did two cons. One was a 1 day, one was a major 3 day show where I had a booth and did a chapel service. So it's been pretty busy lately. Um, yeah, kind of crazy today or this month. So, uh, Shazam. Shazam was a great movie. I first learned about the character of Shazam when I watched Justice League Unlimited. So, Justice League Unlimited is an amazing cartoon. It's a continuation of Justice League, of course, uh, where the seven original members open it up and they start building a much larger team, or six of the original seven, as Hawkgirl was not part of the team at that time. And they one of the people that they eventually recruit is Shazam. So there's a very interesting storyline in there where Shazam finds some doubts about the league and where he, it actually makes for a very interesting watch. And then I've seen a few other mediums where he was in media where that he was in, some of the other animated movies. And a while back, I read the majority of a graphic novel featuring a few different Shazam comics put together so that I could get a better grip on the character. And then, of course, in February or March, when it came out, I went to the theater and got to see Shazam in the theater, and I loved it. There was so much to talk about in the movie, and there's so much rich depth to it. It was just amazing. Such a great experience, and it's very fun too. Billy Batson is great. The actors did a great job, and it's interesting if you see some of the interviews that go out. The actress that played the mother in the home that Billy Batson eventually ends up in went to the filming location, which I think was Toronto, about 2 weeks early, just so she could spend time with the kid actors that she was going to be interacting with in the movie. And so they had about 2 weeks where they were going to ball games and bowling and going to movies. And she just built up a relationship with them so that there was something more to it when they actually filmed their scenes. Which I thought was great. It was nice to see someone take it that seriously. So, in this movie, as I mentioned before, you have a boy named Billy Batson. He's essentially a foster kid. He's run away from many foster homes. He was separated from his mom many years ago, and has just been continually trying to find her. And that brings out a lot of discussion about family and dealings with feelings of rejection and all the things that come into that. And eventually, when one of the kids that he meets in a foster home gets attacked, hi Cade, Mason, JP, how you doing, guys? Eventually, they're at school and somebody starts messing with the kids. And at first, Billy's going to kind of walk away, but eventually he just kind of, one of the kids makes a comment about not having a mom. And that makes Billy angry, and so he stands up for his not quite yet buddy and ends up running from the guys. Once he gets away, this wizard calls him into his lair, and we find out that this wizard is looking for a champion. Uh, Earlier in the movie, he had approached someone else, a couple decades before all of this is taking place, and he essentially said, "I'm looking for somebody who's pure of heart to represent me and to be my champion." And he tested the kid, and that kid did not do well. There was this little ball, that glowing ball, and the statues start speaking to him. "Take it, be our champion, work for us." And these statues are essentially prison or jails for demons that are connected with the seven deadly sins. And in that, this kid, who eventually grows up to be Dr. Savannah, did not do well. He did go and reach for this ball that would have set them free. And so Shazam is still looking many years later for his champion. And essentially he kind of forces and pulls Billy into this and makes him his champion. So here we have Billy. He gets chosen to be this champion, and he becomes, the champion for this wizard. But he has no clue how to handle any. He doesn't understand what his powers are. He doesn't know the first thing about being a superhero at all. He knows nothing. And the wizard was looking for someone who was pure of heart, but he's not exactly pure of heart. At one point, Dr. Savannah, when he finally meets Shazam, Dr. Savannah says, "No one is pure of heart." And at that point, Dr. Savannah had already broken out the seven demons. They are essentially inhabiting him. And to be honest, he is right. Nobody is really pure of heart. We all have this in-base issue of sin and selfishness in our lives that is not helpful. So to talk about this idea of purity of heart, we're going to look at something written by a guy named David. You might know him as King David. He was the leader in Israel for quite a few years. This is the guy that took down Goliath with a stone and chopped off his head. And this is the guy that conquered some land and gave Israel more territory and was a great leader and a great military leader in Israel. And at one point, he makes this horrible choice as a king. He sees this lady off on a rooftop and he decides, "I want her." And her husband is in the military away at war, and he basically has her pulled in to spend the night in bed with him. And then he wants to cover it up. So he has this woman's husband sent to the very front lines. There we go. Shazam. Yes, Shazam is the name of the movie. He sends this guy to the very front lines, is what King David did, and he essentially got the husband killed. So here we have, King David. He's not exactly acting pure of heart, and yet at one point in the Bible, he's referred to as a man after God's own heart. And even he messed up royally. Like that's pretty big messing up, adultery, sleeping with someone else's wife, and then having them killed. That's a pretty big deal. And at one point, this guy named Nathan, who was a prophet, comes. And Nathan approached David and he told him the story. There's this guy who was rich, and he had tons of flocks, lots of sheep, lots of everything. He was rich. And there was this other man who only had one livestock, one sheep, from which he could get the wool to make clothes or to do whatever he needed to do with it. And this man who had money killed the other man and took the sheep. And what should happen? And David got angry and he said, we should kill this guy. It's not acceptable. It's never acceptable. And Nathan looks at me and he says, "You are that guy." And so after this, David wrote one of his psalms. There's an entire book in the Bible filled with psalms, and many of them, most of them, were written by David. And Psalm 51 is David's plea after realizing his own sin. And I'm going to start with verse 7 and go through verse 12 here. So this is Psalm 51, starting in verse 7. Cleanse me with hyssop, and I will be clean. Wash me, and I will be whiter than snow. Let me hear joy and gladness. Let the bones you have crushed rejoice. Hide your face from my sins, and blot out my iniquity. Create in me a pure heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. Do not cast me from your presence, or take your Holy Spirit from me. Restore to me the joy of your salvation, and grant me a willing spirit to sustain me. Now that's just one portion of this psalm. It's not a long psalm. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stanzas. Very quick read. If you want to read the entire chapter, I definitely recommend it. But we're going to focus on verse 10. In verse 10, David says, Create in me a pure heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. Now, in this moment, as I said, David is knowing his own sin. Kind of like Billy. You know, there's this point in the movie where Billy is basically out skipping school. He's transformed back into Shazam, and he's just playing around with his lightning powers and getting attention and trying to get people to give him money, you know, messing around. And at one point, the lightning flies over, comes down on a highway, and takes out the tire of a bus. Now, this is a raised highway, and the bus crashes through and starts to fall, just at first being held up by a few cables that were in the way. And so Shazam flies over there, realizing, I messed up. Like, these people are in extreme danger because of what I did. And he realizes, and he's there, and he does manage to help them out of the situation, but it was a situation he created. And he had to realize, okay, I've been messing around, I've been doing selfies and playing around, but it's go time. I need to stop this. And soon after that is when he meets Dr. Savannah for the first time. And so he was in the same place of, my heart's not pure. And what David says, this is verse 10 of Psalm 51, Create in me a pure heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. Now, I looked a little bit. There was a very famous preacher named John Wesley. In fact, the whole Methodist movement, so the Methodist churches, like the Free Methodist, United Methodist, the Wesleyan, a whole bunch of different denominations come from a movement that he and his brother Charles started, along with George Whitefield and some others. And I looked at some of John Wesley's notes about this. Okay, so with the word create in me a pure heart. Well, what does that mean? And that's talking about working in me for a holy frame of a heart, so that your inward filth is purged away. So your inward sin and your inward attitudes. Yeah, I think I could do a Q&A soon. Let's get through this. The inward things from your heart need to be cleansed and clean. And so he says, create in me a clean heart. He's saying, purge all of the filth and all of the inward biases in me that don't help. Purge that from me. And also in here, he says, create in me a right or a steadfast spirit. And from the Hebrew, that means firm or constant. And it's talking about a resolution that will be fixed and unmovable. Okay. And then, of course, the spirit. The spirit would be the temper or the disposition of your soul. So the very motivations and outfillings of who you are. And so he's saying, purge all the sin from me, create in me a constant, sustainable spirit that that is honoring to you, God, and is healthy for me. And so, the wizard in Shazam was looking for someone with a pure heart. And it's not something that any of us have. We all have sin. We all choose poorly regularly. But there's something more out there. God is standing there. He sent his son Jesus to the cross through a very painful experience, and then resurrected him so that we could be clean of heart, so that we could experience him. And in fact, there's a verse in Isaiah 53, looking forward to Jesus, that says that we will be healed by his stripes, or by his wounds we will be healed. And so if you're sitting there like, man, I know I keep messing up, there's something inside me that's wrong, just start talking with Jesus. Take a look at some scripture, talk with Jesus about it, just be honest. You don't have to say some big, aloof, well-written prayer. Just be honest. And he is right there. So, we've got some friends here. Does anyone have any questions? Could be about Shazam, could be about the Bible. So Mason asked for a Q&A. So Mason, you got a question? Put it up. While I'm waiting to see if anyone has any questions, Saturday night I'm hosting a game night at All Shores Wesleyan in Spring Lake, Michigan. My buddy Darren is bringing a really fun game called Formula D, which can play up to 10 people. I'm bringing a bunch of other games, and we're just going to sit around, eat snacks, and play board games. It's going to be a great night. Come on over. A week from Saturday, on July 20th, I am working with the crew at KoganCon. I'll be hosting the board game area there. KoganCon is an anime and fandom convention in Grand Haven, Michigan. It's a lot of fun, just a good day, just a one-day event. There will be panels, there will be cosplayers, there will be people selling art that they've made, and it's just a fun, great experience. So come on out. If you don't live in Grand Haven, come in, spend some time at the con, and then go out to the beach. It's a great opportunity. The weekend after that, the last weekend in July, the 29th, I think, right around, so the 27th, 28th maybe, that Saturday or Sunday, I will be in Lansing, Michigan. I just have a table at a really great show called Get Geeked. They actually are going to have 4 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle actors, 3 suit actors, and 1 voice actor, representing all 4 of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, plus the guy who played Shredder in the very first live-action Ninja Turtle movie in the early 90s. And lots of fun with that, so I'm looking forward to that. And then the weekend after that, I'm in Indianapolis for Gen Con, and I'm excited to hang out with my co-author Nathan, hopefully sell some books, and I'm going to participate in a Smash Up tournament, which is a really fun game. And I'm also hosting and running an event for the Christian Gamers Guild. It's a group of tabletop gamers all around the country, and the guy who normally runs our event at Gen Con can't be there. All right, Mason, my book is called 42 Discovering Faith Through Fandom. If you go to nerdchapel.com, you can check out both that book and my new book, The New 42, God Terraforms All Things. Both of these books are daily devotionals, so you pull it up and you read 1 entry per day, which will use something from Nerdum to help you look at Scripture. So we reference things like Star Wars, Doctor Who. In the New 42, we get several anime references in, so if you like anime, there's some opportunities with that. We also try to get more gaming references in to the New 42, because we didn't get a lot of gaming references into the first one. And so 42, Discovering Faith Through Fandom, and the new 42, God Terraforms All Things. So they're both on a page at the website, so that's a good place to go and find that out. Yeah, so my schedule is pretty packed over the next few weeks, which is exciting. I'm glad I'm going to be able to do a bunch of stuff. Tonight I went to the Gaming Annex in Muskegon and played a couple of board games I had not played before. One was Jaws. It's the board game based off the movie. It's reasonably new, and it was a lot of fun. It's mostly cooperative. You have up to 3 players going against 1 player. So 1 player is Jaws. The other 3 can be the sheriff, the scientist, and the boat captain from the movie. And it was fun. We had a great time playing that. Then we played Cartagena. No, I'm butchering that name. Cartagena, but it's basically a board game of pirates. So it was kind of a Naco theme tonight. Pirates trying to get to their pirate hiding spot, and you're trying to get all 6 of your pirates there first. So you just play cards. It's a little bit like Candyline. You play cards and go to the next spot of that symbol. But you can also move someone else's piece and help them just a bit, moving them forward. And for doing that, you get a card that you can use later on. But very fun. And it was a good time. So, do we have any more questions? I hope you guys, the summer is going well for those of you who are, well, no matter what you do, but I hope your summer is going well. And for those of you who are students, I hope you're using it well, that you're having fun and also doing some other good activities. So, yeah. Anything else? Any questions about any recent movies? I did not see the new Men in Black yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to see that one in theater. I might kind of hold off and save up some money rather than seeing it in the theater. I did see the new Godzilla twice, and it was excellent. Favorite hobby? Well, I have a lot of hobbies. So I'd go swing dancing on Tuesday nights in Grand Rapids. Lots of fun. Good way to meet people, get some exercise. You guys know I'm a big fan of movies, particularly science fiction and superhero movies. And I'm a big board game guy. So I was asked today if I could only keep one hobby, what would I keep? And I said board games, but it's a really hard choice because there's a lot of really good hobbies out there. But board games are something that is a great way for me to connect with other people. It's a good opportunity for us to disconnect from screens and just kind of enjoy it. That's why I host game nights. It's why I have so many board games. It's just a good way to connect with people, and it's fun. So you just gotta find the right games for you that you're gonna like. So Formula D, which we'll be playing in 2 days, or this coming Saturday at game night, you have your car which you're racing around in, and for each gear you have a different die, and each die has different sides on it, so that's pretty fun. I am 37. Yes, I am actually 37, which is a little bit odd to me because that means I'm old, or older, not old yet, but older. Yes, 37. So, let's see. Mason's asked a couple of questions. Does anyone else want to ask a question? Oh, can't use that. Okay. Well, guys, I hope you're having a good day. What is your favorite school to guest teach at? Oh, that I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing. I really do enjoy subbing at both Coopersville and Fruitport. Fruitport is the school that I graduated from, and so I put more of my attention there. And I think I've developed more of a rapport with the teachers and the students there than Coopersville or any of the schools I subbed at previously, because I did sub around a little bit when I first started. But Fruitport's my main go-to. So that's where I've landed, and it's been pretty good for me and for seemingly for others, hopefully for others. So yeah. Let's see. Yeah, Mason, have a good one. Thanks for joining me, guys. It's been a good time, and I hope that you all have a good weekend and a good summer.